Have you ever felt like you're running on a treadmill, working harder than anyone you know, yet still falling behind? You put in the long hours, you make the sacrifices, but the results just don't match your effort. It's frustrating, it's confusing, and it leads straight to burnout. If that sounds familiar, then you need to hear the story of two farmers, Thomas and Richard. Their story reveals a powerful truth. Hard work alone is not the key to success. Let's meet Thomas. Thomas was the hardest working man in the entire valley. His motto was simple. Success is earned through sweat, sacrifice, and sheer exhaustion. He saw sleep as a weakness, and long hours as a badge of honor. His day started at 4 a.m., long before the sun even thought about rising, and it didn't end until the last sliver of light disappeared behind the mountains. He worked with his bare hands, using the same old tools his grandfather had used, believing that tradition and brute force were all he needed. He stubbornly refused to even look at modern farming equipment or new techniques. Why? Pride. He believed that his way, the hard way, was the only honorable way. But here's the harsh reality. Despite his incredible effort, Thomas's farm was struggling. His harvests were just mediocre, barely enough to keep his family afloat. The endless work was destroying his health. His back ached constantly. His hands were raw and calloused, and exhaustion was his permanent state. He had no time or energy left for his wife or his children. He was a ghost in his own home, physically present, but mentally and emotionally absent. He was sacrificing everything. But for what? Now, let's look at his neighbor, Richard. Richard's farm was thriving, a vibrant green oasis next to Thomas's wilting fields. But here's the kicker. Richard only worked about 6 hours a day. 6 hours. While Thomas was collapsing into bed after a 16-hour day, Richard was enjoying dinner with his family, reading books, and even taking short vacations. How was this possible? Richard wasn't working harder. He was working smarter. He didn't rely on brute force. He relied on systems. He used modern tools that made planting and harvesting faster and less physically demanding. He spent time planning his seasons, choosing only the most profitable crops for his specific soil type. His work wasn't about endless labor. It was about strategic decisions and efficient execution. He produced double the results in less than half the time. For a long time, Thomas just scoffed at Richard. He saw him as lazy, as someone who was cutting corners. He couldn't understand how Richard could be so successful without suffering the way he did. In Thomas's mind, success had to hurt. Then, the drought came. It was a crisis that pushed everyone to their limits. The sun beat down relentlessly, the earth cracked, and the crops began to wither. How did Thomas respond? You guessed it. He decided to work even harder. He started waking up at 3 a.m., trying to outwork the sun itself. He dug irrigation trenches by hand, a back-breaking task that left him completely drained. He pushed his body far beyond its limits, convinced that more effort was the only answer. One sweltering afternoon, it happened. While digging yet another trench under the blazing sun, Thomas collapsed. His body simply gave out. He woke up in the local clinic, with the doctor standing over him, a grave look on his face. The doctor's words were a brutal wake-up call. "Thomas," he said, "if you continue like this, you will not live to see another harvest. Your body is shutting down. Your hard work is killing you." Lying in that clinic bed, broken and defeated, Thomas was forced to confront a terrifying possibility. What if his entire belief system was wrong? What if all his sacrifice, all his pain, had been for nothing? For the first time, humility broke through his pride. The moment he was able to walk, he did something he never thought he would do. He walked over to Richard's farm and asked for help. Richard welcomed him without judgment. He set Thomas down and shared a simple analogy. He said, "Imagine two woodcutters. The first one swings his axe all day without stopping. He works furiously, sweat pouring down his face, but as the day goes on, his swings become less and less effective because his axe is getting dull. The second woodcutter works for an hour, then stops for 15 minutes to sharpen his axe. To the first woodcutter, it looks like he's being lazy, but by the end of the day, the second woodcutter has chopped down far more trees. Your problem, Thomas, is that you've been swinging a dull axe for years. You've even So focused on the motion of swinging that you forgot the goal is to cut down the tree. That simple story changed everything for Thomas. He finally understood. Working harder isn't the solution. Working smarter is. He spent the next few weeks learning from Reacher, not about working more, but about thinking more. He discovered 3 fundamental principles that would transform his life. The first principle was systems over effort. Reacher taught him that a well-designed system will always outperform brute force in the long run. An automated irrigation system doesn't get tired. A good plan doesn't have a bad day. Thomas realized that by investing time upfront to build systems, he could create leverage that would save him hundreds of hours of manual labor later. Automation and structure are what creates sustainable success, not just pushing yourself harder. The second principle was focus over hustle. Thomas had been trying to do everything at once. He grew 10 different types of crops, spreading his energy and resources thin. Richer, on the other hand, focused on just 3 high-yield crops that were perfectly suited for the climate. He mastered those 3. He taught Thomas that success doesn't come from doing more things, but from doing the right things exceptionally well. It's about identifying the 20% of your activities that generate 80% of your results and focusing relentlessly on them. Hustling on a dozen different fronts is just a recipe for mediocrity. And the third, and perhaps most surprising principle for Thomas, was that rest is a part of the strategy. Thomas had always seen rest as a sign of weakness, a waste of time. Richard showed him that rest is not the opposite of work. It's a vital component of it. It's during periods of rest that your body recovers, your mind clears, and your best ideas emerge. You can't make smart, strategic decisions when you're exhausted. Recovery isn't a luxury. It's a strategic necessity for peak performance. It's how you sharpen the axe. With this new knowledge, Thomas went back to his farm. But he was a changed man. He stopped seeing endless labor as the goal. He understood that motion is not the same as progress, and being busy is not the same as being effective. He sold off his old, inefficient tools and invested in modern equipment. He installed a simple but effective irrigation system. He reduced the number of crops he grew from 10 down to 4, focusing only on the most profitable ones. He even hired a local teenager to help with the harvesting, delegating tasks so he could focus on managing the farm. The results were astonishing. In the very next season, working fewer hours than he ever had in his life, Thomas's output increased by 40%. He was making more money, but more importantly, he was getting his life back. He had dinner with his family every night. He had the energy to play with his children. He rediscovered his health, his happiness, and his relationships. He was no longer just surviving. He was thriving. The story of Thomas and Richard is a powerful lesson for all of us, whether we're farmers, entrepreneurs, students, or artists. We live in a culture that glorifies the hustle, that tells us to grind 24/7. But the truth is, hard work is just one ingredient. It's the raw fuel, without strategy to direct it, systems to leverage it, focus to concentrate it, and rest to sustain it. That fuel just burns you out. Success doesn't come from exhaustion and self-destruction. It comes from clarity, leverage, and intelligent design. It's about sharpening your axe, not just swinging it harder. So take a look at your own life. Are you just working hard, or are you working smart? Are you busy, or are you productive? The answer to that question could change everything. Thanks for watching. If this story resonated with you, hit that like button and subscribe for more content on how to work smarter, not just harder. I'll see you in the next video.